welcome once again to Japan Expert Insights. You notice there's 4 boxes this time for those who are watching us, because we have 2 guests today.
All right.
Donie Ordiales and Sho Ikushima are in the house from Crosspoint. So while everyone's logging in, we're going to talk a little bit about this movie. So we're just going to do a little brief introduction. I got to see this movie. I was fortunate enough to see it. Was like a month ago now, when Sophia had Asian pop-up cinema happening here in Chicago, and they had and I got to meet the director and the one of the actresses. Kind of a similar situation where the performer was also a producer for the movie, and Sho will talk about that in a little bit. But I got to talk to them, the two from Samurai Time, and then I got to meet Donie and Sho and Mrs. Kurosawa-san, who was on the show 2 weeks ago, for those who remember. She is in this movie. And so this is sort of like our salute to our Filipino heritage, back-to-back episodes. That my grandmother would be so proud that we did this. I mean, and if they look down on you, they'll be smiling. And I'm just happy because right now, for those of us who are in Chicago, the weather gets a little iffy around here every now and then, but no tornadoes by me. So I can continue with this show. Otherwise, if there was a tornado, I'd probably just continue anyway. I mean, what's the chances of it hitting here? But,
all right.
Around this place. You don't get tornadoes, do you, in Japan? Do you guys get tornadoes?
No.
Earthquakes. We've got typhoons.
You got typhoons. I mean, you know the danger. Like weather in Chicago tries to kill you. That's why we're so funny. Because what happens is the sports teams are usually terrible, although we have better ones now. But usually the sports teams are terrible, and the weather changes. We have 20, 30 degree,
right,
up and down, and tornadoes, too much hail, plagues.
But at least you can prepare. Like tornadoes, it give you warnings. They give you warnings before it comes.
Now, which is nice. I mean, we're a little better.
Unlike earthquakes here, I mean, you never know when it's coming.
So you guys understand the terror. That's why I think Chicagoans get along so well with our Japanese friends, because you always know how small you really are on the totem pole, actually. So they're just there. All right, so we're gonna play a trailer now from Crosspoint, and this is going to be released in Japan on the 24th. So let's play that trailer for everyone.
Yes.
Here we go.
他のもやんなきゃいけないからさ。決まったら呼んで。Don't be shy. You can talk to me. So, where are you from? Philippines. What brought you here? You speak good English. Born in Japan, study in the U.S. And a Floridian saving your ass. I saw him earlier. He's in town. This could be the solution to our problems. How? They saw 10 million yen reward for his capture. This is your last chance to make a fresh start.
And we're off. And the best part is, I've met Sho. He's a really nice guy. He's nothing like that in the movie.
Right.
The nicest man. And the other thing is that for those who don't know, I mean, that gives you the chills, but it's actually a very touching family drama. Which is something I've always loved about Asian cinema and Japanese cinema, and I think Filipino cinema is the same way, where you watch this trailer like, oh my God, I'm going to be freaked out. And it is kind of creepy and scary, but there's also a very touching thread that goes through the movie as well. So Donnie and Sho are on the show. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hello, hello.
Hello. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
Yoroshiku
And
onegaishimasu.
we're ready to go.
Yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
How did you two meet? Give us your backstory, and then we'll go a little deeper into how you came about coming into the film business and making this movie.
Would you like to share that, Show?
Sure. First, I wanted to, create a dance film at the beginning, I think. And then I was looking for, film directors in Japan. And then actually on socials, like social media, I was trying to, reach out to directors. And then Donie was one of the directors. And then we met one day in Tokyo and I had a coffee, and then we had a great conversation. And we actually decided to do a short film together first.
Nice.
During the pandemic. And then we did, Wasuremono, Japanese short drama. And then, that's when we started talking about, we want to do actual feature film. And then from there, just this project happened. So, yeah, that's how
now
we
I
met.
know, Sho, you were in New York for a bit, and Donnie, obviously you come from Manila, correct?
Actually, I'm from Cavite. Dasmariñas, Cavite. It's like an hour away from Manila. It's like the Saitama or Kanagawa of Manila. So
Gotcha.
yeah, like when I was in college, I lived in Manila for like 3 years. So yeah.
And how did you come about being a filmmaker? How was that journey for you? And then Sho, don't worry, we'll get to you and your journey in a moment. But Donnie, you first.
Yes.
Yes, this is amazing.
Because so long time ago, I'm revealing my age. I was actually studying a completely different, major. So I was in college at University of Santo Tomas in Manila, and I was studying advertising arts. At first, I'm starting to get confused because I start to feel that it's not really my it's not the thing that I wanted to do long term. So I got this confusion, and then one time I think we had this one subject where we had to do reporting, and me and my teammates, they're actually really cool guys, and we decided to do something different, not the typical PowerPoint presentation and stuff like that. So we decided, like, why don't we do the presentation, like why don't we do a short film? And that time I didn't have any ideas on how to make short film. So we one of the guys, they brought their digital camera, and I actually fell in love with the process. And then we realized, like, actually we are really good at this. And the teacher, the professor, actually liked the outcome. And and I think we passed the subject, so we were really proud. And since then, it stuck in my head, and I started to actually think about it, how to become a movie director. But during that time, there were no film schools in the Philippines, in Manila, I think that time. So I don't know really how to become a filmmaker. And since I was struggling already in college, so I have a relative in Shizuoka, my aunt, shout out Tita Malu. She actually invited me. Why don't you think about my life, like soul searching in Japan? It's like, oh hell yeah, like that's actually perfect. And while I was there, I was studying Nihongo. So she enrolled me to Nihongo school. I took like a year of leave of absence in my university. And then I found out, like, because in Nihongo schools, they give you like, most of it's like a pre-college school, actually. They're preparing these foreign students, they studying Nihongo, and then they actually introduce, colleges, universities, and I found a film school. And the cool thing is, like, most universities and how can I say it? Like the semongako, those schools, they require like
Yes.
Yeah, specialized, college,
Vocation, maybe
vocational
vocation.
schools. They require like an EQ or EQ level of Nihongo, and that time I was like, oh my god! I mean, I'm not even close. Only that film school, actually, only that film school that doesn't require, any NIQ or EQ level of Japanese. So I thought like that's actually for me, and then I went to Tokyo. It's actually located in Tokyo, and what what's cool about it is it's a hands-on filmmaking school. It's not about discussing films. The kids are actually making movies. So when I visited their campus, I was like, oh my god, this is like the education that I want. They have like a studio, they have like post-production rooms, they have like actors studio, they have a theater. It's just like this is it. Like I think I found the school for me, and I enrolled. I was like a self-supporting student, and yeah, the rest is history. So yeah, that's how actually it began, and then I started doing short films, and yeah,
That's it. And here we are.
yeah. Here we are doing the
doing this,
podcast
whatever
with you
this
guys.
is, this podcast. There you go. Now, Sho. So while he was in film school, you were a dancer.
Yes, I
So
was.
how did you tell us how this happens? Because I mean, there's a lot of people who are multi-talented in the business. I think a lot of people always assume if you're a director, you're a director, or whatnot. But most people actually have, if in the business, as you know, have a lot of talent in a lot of different places. So how
Right.
did you end up here?
Well, first, I actually wanted to be an actor, but I went to a boarding art high school in California.
Okay.
And then at the time, I was just 15 years old. I didn't speak English. And then but I found this school online. I was like, I applied for it because in Japan it's very hard to find art school. So I got this appointment during the winter break, and I begged my parents to take me there. And then it's like an hour and a half away from LA, and then up in the mountain, and once we got there, so they're like, so what are you gonna do at this school? Because we specialize in art. So do you do, arts, music, what do you do? I was like, I want to be an actor. But they're like, but you don't speak English. You have to be able to speak English to be actor in, the US.
Right. Yeah.
They're like, all right.
Not anymore. If Shogun happened, you'd been fine. But apparently,
Right.
it was a little ahead
Yeah,
of
it's
your
a
time.
bit too
Just
soon,
saying.
huh?
Go
Okay,
ahead, yeah.
so and then they're like, why don't you dance? Because that way you get used to being on stage, and also you don't have to speak. And once you learn English enough to be a theater major, you can switch. But I know in back of their heads, they're like, yes, we've got this Asian boy who don't know anything, and they just want male dancers because it's so rare to find male dancers. So they're like, yes. So I totally got tricked into it. But we went to field trip to LA, and then I saw my very first dance performance a month after I enrolled at school. And then I was stunned I was hooked into it. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Actually, I really want to pursue this. So later on I did learn, I spoke English at some point, but at the time I was already really into dance. So I went to NYU as a dance major. And then but when I was in New York, acting studios, and I was watching a lot of those movies from the 80s and 90s. I was like, okay, I'm in New York, I want to study acting too, because that was my original passion. So I reached out to one of the friends in Japan, and she majored in theater at NYU. So she knew teachers and acting coaches in the city. So she introduced me to one of the teachers, John Strasberg, who's a son of Lee Strasberg. And that's when I started acting, studying acting. And then, I was doing dance as a profession, but I was studying acting, and I was doing small shows and things like that. And then when I came back to Japan, I started professionally acting career.
Gotcha. And so you got the New York experience and the LA experience, but you
Kind of LA, not exactly, because
Not really?
people
You're young.
that Hot Springs, city called Idlewild. It's up in the mountain. It
Oh, okay.
snows. It's not quite LA like a beach.
So you were just around it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you could have had the Chicago experience, but you probably be 20 pounds heavier now.
Because
Because it always involves
that pizza is gonna do it.
yeah. So, but no. So obviously you guys have your different paths. How did you guys met, and then how did you? It's funny because I know the story because I was there for the press. But for our listeners, how did you guys meet, and how did this movie come about? Because I know, Donie, it was a couple different stories you had in your head that you were kind of playing about with.
Yeah. So I think Shaw told the story a while ago about how we actually met in person.
Yeah.
But this movie, it came up, I think, after we did the short film that was around pandemic. We had this desire of like collaboration projects. I mean, now like Korean movie industry is booming that time. So we kind of felt like, okay, I think this is the time for Asian cinema to be known in the world. I mean, looking at the success of the Korean film industry. So we thought like, maybe because my niche is like, I'm the Filipino director in Japan, so I have stories. And I thought like maybe that's actually the uniqueness of my style compared to Japanese filmmakers and Filipino filmmakers. So I can do like both, the best of both of these worlds. So then I had a story like Crosspoint. I wrote this 2017. So I pitched it to Shaw because I think he had the same plan of like same desire of like introducing Asian collaboration, competing with the Hollywood and European market. So that's our goal actually to be the flag bearers of the Asian, to represent the Asian cinema to the world. So I think then that time during the pandemic, we started a company in the Philippines called High Road Creatives. I think you met Rav, the
Delightful
other
guy.
producer.
We shared
Yes.
the Cebu connection because my grandmother's from Cebu.
Yes, he's from Cebu, and it was really timely because the time he started a production company, and he actually invited me to join. And of course, I'm a film director. Their actually goal first is like to make commercials, but what I said is like what I want to do is more on narrative filmmaking. And actually, he also wants to do this. He wanted to do the same thing, and it was very timely because when we established High Road Creatives, that was also the same time when Shaw and I started to planning these ideas in our heads, and I think that's it. So when High Road Creatives decided to do a movie, then I actually pitched them Crosspoint, and both Shaw and High Road Creatives agreed to do it, and
So how did you get into producing movies, Show? Because it's like because you go this whole route. So how did that come about? Because obviously you're one of the producers of the film.
So it just like also happened by coincidence. I wanted to produce actually dance theater show, like a performance during the for 2020 Olympics. I was my pitch was selected as like we've received some grants, and I was gonna invite German choreographer that I was working with in Germany. So after New York, I went to Germany to dance at the State Theater, and then I was performing there, and then I was gonna bring him to Japan and some dancers from Germany to Japan, and then some me including myself, like we had 3 Japanese dancers, and we were gonna do a collaboration performance. But because of the pandemic, of course, they couldn't come to Tokyo, And what we decided to do was to produce a dance film. That was like the beginning of like producing a film. But like, of course, I've never, I was a performer. So already producing was like a big challenge. And now it became like a film. I was like, okay,
Wow.
like this is like becoming way too, big to handle just by myself. So I reached out to Yukihiko Tsutsumi. He's a very famous Japanese director who directed like a Trick, Spec, 20th Century Boy. Like he's one of the most recognized film directors. And then I was actually doing a documentary film about the Great East Japan earthquake for like 7-8 years. So we had a connection as as a cast and director. And then I was like, so because of the pandemic, I was I now I'm shooting a dance film. So he's like, okay, I'll help you out. So we just did a dance film first, and then after that, I guess like friends from NYU, she came to Japan to just travel, and she's like, hey, what have you been up to? And I was like, okay, I made this art film, and then such and such and such. So with the film, I made a production company. And then like some friends were just, oh, we are doing documentary. Can you help us out to, do some stuff in Japan? And then like more and more after I created this company, like some people started asking me to do some, videos and shoots and things like that. So I kind of got used to handling more of like those kind of industry work. And then that's when Donie and I started talking about Crosspoint. So like I was like, okay, I think I can do this. And then because I'm an actor too, I know a lot of actor friends. I have a lot of actor friends, and so like I can reach out to them. And then of course through the work, I know some hand makeup and like so like I as a performer, I met a lot of the crews that I worked with in Crosspoint. So I had those connections and became this kind of whole thing.
Yeah. So may I ask a question? What are the most difficult points of producing a film here in Japan?
In Japan, like
You're going right for it.
yeah. No. It's
Sorry, did I come with this question too soon?
No, it's all good. Let's just do it. Because
All right.
I think a lot
Sorry
of
for
people,
this.
because they always want to know, like, how do you, when you're working a film in
Yeah.
Japan, especially coming from this is a Filipino-Japanese production, and I know a lot of the people are always really interested in like, well, getting to the nitty gritty, like, how did this happen? Like, what did you find? So it's a it's a great question. It really is.
So I guess in Japan, like the way we make film is a bit different from states, and like I mean, it depends on countries, but a lot of the commercial films make like a comedy kind of situation. So like maybe under 10, but like like couple of like companies kind of invest together to make a film. So it's very sometimes hard to make a decision because a lot of stakeholders are there, and then you have to go through a lot of people.
Yeah.
But for us, like indie film, like we did private investors, and we tried to look for grants that we can apply for. But this is one of the difficult things in Japan, is that like you receive the money afterwards, and oftentimes it's like maximum is 50% of whatever you have applied. So you definitely have to cover the other half, and like it takes a long time, like any other things in Japan. So the process, like when we wanted to start the film, like the deadline, and then when we receive the money, even if we get chosen, was like too late. So we had to go through all the private investors instead of going for the grants. So in Japan, that could be like you really have to plan ahead. And if you want to use those subsidies, like you kind of have to really carefully think about it. Like, so maybe that's one of the things. And also in Japan, it's very hard to shoot on streets. Like to get permission, you have to fill out a lot of forms to shoot. So actually, we had a scene in Akihabara in Crosspoint. And then we had the exact same policeman came 3 times, because somebody reported, they're shooting Akihabara on the street, and then we did have permission, so it's okay, and then they know it. But Japanese police officer, very Japanese, he has to come back and stop us every time because
Check the same documents. Oh my God.
He knows we have the document, but he just have to do that.
They have to do it to kind of like show to because the person who called might be around and still watching, so he has to kind of show that we're checking the documents again. It's like
right. And you do need the permission from the police as well, right? Not only,
Yes,
I mean, there are several permits actually that you have to obtain before you can shoot on the street, right?
So yes, so it's a long process in Japan. It's very hard to get those permissions. So that's one of the things, I suppose.
Wow.
And Donnie, you coming from the Philippines, I mean, what were the big differences between doing work there and doing work in Japan?
I actually mostly worked most of my projects. I shot it in Japan, so I think my upbringing when it comes to like film making is mostly like Japanese. But again, because here in Japan we have like a community. Like I think there are like 3 communities of filmmakers: the mainstream filmmakers, which is like the Toho, these are the big guys. They have their own worlds. They're like you're lucky if you're in that circle. And then there's the independent Japanese filmmakers. And again, mostly, I mean, they're non-English speaking crew. And they're very traditional Japanese filmmakers. Like, to be honest, like, it's hard for foreign nationals to be part of that circle. I mean, if you cannot speak Japanese, well, of course, it's hard to communicate. And they will not actually adjust for you to, they will not learn English for you. Like, you have to kind of do it their way. And of course, like, they have this like the how can I say, like the traditional, the Japanese traditional way that sometimes foreigners cannot adjust to. So in a way, foreigners would feel alienated. And then there's like a where we belong. There's like a big community of foreign filmmakers in Japan with Japanese also, who are like Sho. Like, he studied filmmaking and acting in the US. So some Japanese who actually were exposed to the international scene, who came back to Japan, and so we have this like community. So in a way, it's like a Japanese filmmaking, but some stuff that we learn from Hollywood and Europe also. So it's very diverse. It's very international. I mean, in the Philippines, I did some short films there, and then of course Crosspoint. At first, I thought it was really different because I'm hearing, the stereotype, like, oh, Southeast Asia people are so laid back, or they don't follow the concept of time. They're always late. I always hear that kind of scary stories. But I think if you hire the right people, if you hire the professional people, and luckily we had a good project manager, line producer in the Philippines, and I think the people that she hired were really the best crew in the Philippine industry. So it didn't. I mean, I didn't really feel much of I didn't feel the difference. Like, it's almost the same. Like the technical terms are the same. But all in all, like the discipline, I think everywhere you go, whether you're in Hollywood or in Europe, if the crew is professional, then I think then the workflow will be the same. The only difference, I think, is like sometimes Japanese are too serious. Like, they're like stoic. They're like they could loosen up a little bit, I think, but they're too serious. Filipinos, they're they joke around. They love to
right.
Of course, when it comes to like work, of course, like we have to go back and go to be strict. But in a way, we are more like happy-go-lucky. We're more laid back. Like we laugh, we joke. So, but Japanese film sets are like really serious. Like,
Yeah, I have
I
heard that
think,
basically it's much more important for Japanese film sets when the actors stick to the scenario and they stick to the dialogue that has already been written, and there is very little room for interpretation. And I wonder whether you have a similar experience like this with
luckily, with not
Japanese
only with
actors.
Crosspoint,
Mm-hmm.
but luckily with I think it depends on the director, because not only with Crosspoint, with the films that I produced and I directed before, um, before we shoot it, I always do one-on-one meetings with the, like, with the cast, and they always ask me this permission, like, if they could, change the line a little bit, that, it will be easier for them to actually say. And actually I allow them, like, yeah, as long as they what you're trying to say is still the same as what the character is uh, trying to, achieve, then I actually allow that. And I don't know with other directors, but for me, I allow them to actually, do some uh, a little bit of tweaking. And yeah, so in my experience, actually, it's different. And especially with Crosspoint, I think Shaw knew that, I'm very lenient when it comes to, like, it doesn't have to be exactly the
Mm-hmm.
same.
Donnie's the actor's director, so he kind of
Yeah.
allows us to give us a room to, try out. And of course, at the end, Donnie decides, the director decides, but he gave us a lot of room to kind of explore the
Mm-hmm.
characters.
It's interesting because, like, when I saw the film Show, you move so creepy in that movie, and I think this is where your dance training comes in handy, because it's almost what excels performances. Like, where some, oh, this is just okay, and this, oh, no, this is really good. There's something happening here. The way you move in them, I mean, you just had that movement. It's like, whoa. It was just, you're just so well done. And yeah. And then, of course, you come in all jokey and stuff like that at the press conference, which was fantastic. But getting it, so let's get into the nitty gritty of this. So obviously, Carlo, he's famous in the Philippines, correct?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, that's where I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And you guys shot this, what was it, 2022 or 2023?
2023 January.
January 2023.
Literally, like, New Year,
So,
like after the New Year. Yeah.
Oh,
so who was it that got Takehiro Hira on the show?
I did.
Okay. There you go. For those who don't know, Takehiro Hira plays the big bad in Shogun. And so you grabbed him right before, I think he probably left to do that after he worked on your film. So how did that all happen? And obviously it must have helped with the release and everything now.
Definitely. Luckily, like, I worked with Takehiro on a film called Sekigahara.
mm-hmm.
It's a Japanese samurai film, and then Takehiro was the one of the main characters, and then his son is Ken Yamamura, who also played in Crosspoint. He was the what you're gonna say,
Immigration, yeah.
immigration officer.
Mm-hmm.
And then so Takehiro and Ken was the father and son in Sekigahara, and then Ken and I are the same age, and then at the readings session, like, I was sitting next to Ken. I didn't know him, but I was like, hey, my name is Sho. And then we started talking, and I found out that he actually studied acting in Australia. So I was like, wow. So he speaks perfect English too. So we became really good friends during the shoot. So Takehiro, Ken, and I started to hang out during Sekigahara and after. And because of the pandemic, we didn't have a lot of gigs and films and TVs got canceled. So we had some time to spend. So, like, we started to hang out in my apartment and started reading different English scripts together, like movie scripts or theater. So we started, like, maybe twice a week, 3 times a week, we hang out and just do reading session. So Takehiro and I were, already kind of close before we started thinking about Crosspoint. And at the time, of course, I wasn't thinking about producing film or anything. So we were just, practicing for auditions and just being in sense, in shape as an actor and things like that. And then this script came up, and I was like, oh my god, this is perfect for Takehiro-san. I was like, okay, I have to reach out to him. And then and when I called him, like, he's like, just like instantly, he's like, yes, I'll do it if you produce. So he was super nice. And then during and after we shot the film, like, he was becoming more and more famous. He was on, like, he's now on, like, so many, like, even Marvel and, like, other films are coming out. So he just had an Emmy nomination and everything. We are like, okay,
Right. Yeah.
we just got him in the right time. So
Indeed, yeah.
And you can see, I mean, everybody's so good in the film. I mean, even like Kurosawa-san, which this is like, we had her on the show 2 weeks ago, and this was her second or third film, and it's just everybody brings it, and that's always kind of nice, right? Because that's the thing about films. A buddy of mine, Doc Kane, said, like, it's hard to make even a bad film because there's just so much that has to go into it, and I kind of understand too that when you're making a movie, so many things can go wrong. One bad performance, not a good cinematographer, someone's not getting along, or even if everything goes right, sometimes it just doesn't gel. It just doesn't get edited right or something like that. So the fact that you made a really good movie is just fantastic. But also, I think it's a credit to your choices that you made, because you brought in the right people to put these roles. So. And that's not an easy thing to do. Did you think you just got lucky? I mean, obviously you guys can spot talent, but how did that process come along when you're picking everybody and choosing? Was it really a lot more calculated, or were you just kind of hoping, let's get some good people and see how it plays out?
Well, of course, the lead actors, Carlo and Takehiro-san, they were actually our first choice for they already got that spot. But we did proper auditions, and of course the other supporting actors in the Philippines, like Polo Ravales, Ian De Leon, Dindo Arroyo. They were, because they're already tested, they're already veteran actors, so I know, and I worked with some of them already, so I know that they're gonna perform well, and they're used to to making feature films already. But for the other supporting roles, Sho and I, we did, like, was that 2 days of audition?
Yeah.
Did Sho audition? Did you have to audition?
No.
I didn't actually.
He got the role too,
I had to
actually.
kill somebody, beat up somebody.
No, we did a practical audition for Sho. We asked him to go to the train, and then that's creepy, doing creepy things. No,
just stand there creepy. I mean, just see if you can do it. Yeah.
We actually held auditions. Was that 2 days, Sho, or one full day?
So 2 days.
2 days, right? Yeah. So it was tough because there were some people who auditioned. Most of them are good, and it's hard to pick. Like, sometimes it's heartbreaking because we wanted to have this. I wish I could have them both, like all of them, but it was a tough decision. Plus, again, as Sho said a while ago, I'm establishing myself as actor's director. I think the main reason why we watch movies is actually because of the actors. I think the performance of the actors. So for me, the acting performance is really important. That's actually the primary reason why people will watch the movie. And the auditioning, we were really actually we were so careful of who we casted, and again it was tough 2 days of the production.
Now, by the way, we're going to cut real quick because we have some comments that have come in. Actually, a lot for this show. I think you guys have set the record for most comments.
Yes.
Yeah, really. NPR is asking when the movie is going to be released in Japan, which is the 24th. Of this month,
30th,
correct?
Yes.
This month, May 24th is the release date. Yes.
May 24 for until 30th, 1 week run. It's going to be at Case Cinema, Shinjuku.
Case
Jason
Cinema
Manchukuo.
in
There we
Shinjuku.
go.
May I say also that yes, you can find also the place, the name of the cinema in the description of the YouTube video, and you can find also links to the website of the video of the film and so on in the description of the YouTube video. So if you missed this, you know what we're talking about at the moment, just have a look at the description and make sure that you watch the film, because I heard from Donie that. The running period will be 1 week here in Japan, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, make sure you have time for it. Make time
Get
and
out there.
watch. Yes.
Seriously, he goes, I know I saw it in the theater in Chicago, and we always say the same thing when you go to these film festival or just these like independent films and you see it in the theater. It's just such a different experience, and it's such a wonderful communal experience, especially a good family / thriller drama like this actually is so much better when you're seeing it with people. It really pulls out the feels of the film. So I highly suggest go see it. Masaya-san and Nobi-san were agreeing with you about how hard it is to get permission to do stuff in Japan. LOL and true. And a guy we know, and he's followed me a lot on LinkedIn. He's a really cool dude, Manabe-san. And he was talking about, Manabe-san. He was talking about just the fact that using associations to get around that. I think talking about getting stuff done in Japan really piqued everyone's interest. Like, how do we do this? And someone named Donie Ordiales, you might know her, Donnie, said it's a very good movie and a must watch. So just saying it. You know, Danielle, could be. So there you go.
Yes.
And
the good thing is about it's a rated G, so kids can actually come and watch this.
Is it really?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Both in Japan and Philippines, we got the rated G. Yeah.
Wow. That's
so
like,
I watch it with my niece and nephews in the Philippines, actually.
Wow.
Nice.
That would not get a G. That would get at least a PG in the States. You know, snickety. But wow. It's a good, it's a really good film. Yeah, it's gonna hold your loved ones tight. It's one of those like Robert Ebert would call like a bare arm movie, because your date's holding your arm so tight you just get rough arms. Roger Ebert is a film critic from Chicago, for those who don't know. Got to throw a Chicago reference in there every now and then. Surprised I'm just not eating a pizza while I do this.
And you're wearing Chicago Bulls jersey.
Right.
Exactly. I actually have a Chicago Cubs jersey, as we're going way off the rails here. In Ghana, and it actually has the Tokyo series patches on. Anyway, so you're getting back to the film. So you guys are making this film, and obviously it's going to get released. One of the interesting things about the film, of course, is that it does kind of highlight a little bit of the Filipino experience in Japan, and it's bringing a little bit of awareness to it. And so you were at Yokohama, like a Yokohama Film Festival, not too long ago, right?
Last week, yeah.
Last week. How does it play for Japanese audiences? How has the Japanese audiences responded to this film? And
I think I think it's of course they cannot, for the Filipino part, they couldn't really relate, because again, some Japanese people are aware of how the lives of the Filipinos are here, but of course some Japanese, their lifestyle is different, so for them this is something new. But what I like about Japanese audience compared with the Filipinos and the US, Japanese are used to slow burn drama. So when you watch Japanese movies, I think sometimes the character build up, it takes time, and I think Japanese are very patient when it comes to to that. So in a way, I kind of felt like it's kind of working here more, because I mean, Crosspoint, you've seen it, Michael. It's a slow burn movie. Like, it started, I explored the characters of both Shigeru and Manuel. So it took time before, because some people were expecting like an action immediately from the the way they saw the trailer. So I think that's one thing that I kind of liked about the Japanese audience, is like, it's kind of working, because they are okay, or they've seen many slow burn drama, and they're okay with they have this patience to kind of explore the characters slowly. So
Right.
that's my
Also,
take.
to the title of the film, however you came about it. I mean, sometimes you think of like a one word title, it's like kind of cheesy, or whatever, but it actually really services whoever did you do the promotion for the poster? Because the way it intersects, because that was the one thing. It is a slow burn, yes, but what I thought was really fascinating about the film was how it literally pulls together. Because you do have all these separate threads, and then how they start entangling, I thought was very fascinating. And literally, like when you talk about Crosspoint, like literally all these different things are coming together in a not very contrived way. That's the other thing too. That's kind of like the trick, right? Is you're pulling all these different threads, and so you're watching, you're like, hey, what's happening here? What's happening here? And then just kind of slowly everything starts to get entangled. And I thought that was just really, you don't get to see that too often in films. And once again, because of the slow pace, what we would call slow pacing here in the States, it allows for that to happen, because then as the pieces start falling together, it becomes much more thrilling to watch, because now you're like, very few films like will do that. They'll stack so well. And so that was something that I thought was really, really going for the film. It's like it was certain scenes are happening without giving too much away. You're like, oh, I'm in. Especially when some of the characters like start, mixing. Yeah, I'm in. And I think that's a nice thing that, once again, a lot of times in American films, they just don't take the time for things to unfold in that way. And so there it is. There you go.
Yeah, the title. We had a hard time thinking of the title, like Sho, we are almost wrapping up we're almost finishing the post production, and we're about to do like a test screening with the investors. We still didn't have a title yet, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you see our behind the scenes photos, you see from the on the slate, you see the title is Hunt, because that was our working title.
Yes.
And the poster was designed by this artist in the Philippines. His name is Justin Besana. He's actually one of the best. I think almost all movie posters in the Philippines, like he actually designed it. And before, you have to book him like months before you actually get him to work on your poster. So I'm glad we did that decision, and I'm so proud of what he came up with. So yeah.
So I guess a couple more questions in terms of Crosspoint, like what were like the biggest lessons you took away? Because obviously you guys are a little newish in making films.
Definitely.
So were there certain things that you learned, like, oh, this is if you were talking to somebody who's just getting started and wants to make a movie in Japan, what do you tell them?
Ooh,
I know. See, I can deliver a brain
The
busting
Miss Universe question, yeah.
Not just Maya. Maya's really good at it. Every now and then I throw a curveball.
Say maybe for me, I think we really, especially maybe in Japan, we really have to kind of plan the pre-pro to post-production is for sure making a film part. That was one thing. And then but distribution and promotion too, maybe it would have been good to start talking to distributors before we start the film. Like we finished the film, and then we started to reaching out to people. Like we did have some conversation, but like that could have been like prioritized a little bit more in the process. Like really, like in the end, we make a film. Like in Japan, only we say like 10% of the film that has been produced is actually out on the screen. So like most of the films, they make it, but it's not shown anywhere. They just kind of make it, and maybe nowadays YouTube, but like it doesn't go on the big screen. So you kind of really have to think, and then with that in mind, we have to think about the post-production too. So like we have the deadline of the distribution date, and then we have the post-production kind of. So our post-production process kind of got delayed, and like we had to refigure out like to when to release the film and things like that. So that was something I didn't really think about, like, we were so focused on making a film, but we really have to think about how to deliver the film to the people who's, waiting for this experience.
And Ijichi-san, who we had on, like, I think episode 3, talked about how it was so much more of a manual process. He said you have to put it in a can and run it out. And I think so in the digital world, we think, oh, well, just put together on a computer and it's done. But it's not. There is still so much more to do. It's we still live in a physical world. So
Yes,
I get that with deliverables. It sneaks up on you. Donnie, what about you?
For me, I think the genre, like when creating, sometimes when you want to make something, as an artist, you're always excited about, oh, this is something unique. Like, let's do something unique. You have this kind of like courage to stand out. But sometimes I think what I learned is like, you still have to be careful and, consider some things. Like for me, I think I'm not saying like a failure, but one of the regrets I think that I had is like, that I have now is the genre, like the way we, as what I was mentioning a while ago, the way we marketed this movie is like a thriller. So I think people thought like it's a thriller, and then when they watched
it
it,
is a thriller. It kind of evolves into a thriller. I think what it is that Kurosawa-san, her performance and Hiro-san's performance as the father and daughter was so strong. And that's nobody's fault. They just did such a wonderful job. You buy them as like, father and daughter, and it just adds that other element to the film, which I think is really critical to the success of the film. But but I think I know what you're saying, but see, I don't know. I kind of like the fact that people go in thinking it's one thing and maybe it's another thing.
Yes.
You wouldn't want to take away, like, you could have maybe dialed down their performances, but why would you do that when it was
Exactly. That's the same my same thoughts. Like, and I think some people, like, they're saying like the drama part, I could have, make it lesser. Like, but for me, it was really important to justify what they've decided, the decision to risk their lives. I think it's important, like, what they've been through, like these two guys before they actually met and then decide to do this crazy thing of capturing a serial killer. So I think, again, it is a thriller, but it is also like a drama. So I think it's just a matter of like, being careful on how you market it, because I think the way we market it, and I think I don't, I'm totally fine with it, but I think because we thought thriller can attract more audiences, again, we're newbies.
But it is, I mean, that's the thing. It is a thriller, and I mean, because there are those, because the thriller parts are very intense. So it is accurate to portray it in that sense.
Yes.
But bring the box of Kleenex. That's the thing. And so that's kind of but that's a nice surprise.
Some people expect from the beginning it will be like, like intense. So I think that's what they thought. And then some people get confused because, as you said, it became emotional, later on in the movie.
I haven't watched the movie, but still, I think that from what I hear from the three of us, I think it's wonderful that you decided, to show the stories of the people before they actually got to the real, action and the thriller part of it. Because I believe that when you tell the stories of the characters, basically you help the viewers relate to them in a on a much deeper level, right? And it's very important because nowadays, I don't know, but personally, when I watch movies, it's so very difficult to relate to characters quite often, actually, not all the time, but very often, because, the action part, the movie just gets into the action so quickly. And I don't think that's really what the audience is enjoy. They want to relate, and I believe that especially with Japanese audiences, it's very important, as you say, the human level of the characters there just helps so very much.
Yes. As for me, I totally agree. I didn't have any regrets on how we made the pacing. I think many people maybe will disagree, but yeah, I'm proud of how we cut the movie, how the pacing was. But yeah, and other than that, what I've learned is like, yeah, same thing as what Shaw mentioned. Like sometimes you have to think about the marketing aspect, because we are artists. We are only excited to like, let's make this movie, and then we realize so many things later on. Like, have you thought about the marketing? Have you the release? Actually, it's very complicated. Like when to release the movie, because it took us like, as Shaw said, it got delayed because you know I think releasing deciding for the release date, it's also like a different skill set. Like it's like an art. Like which time is perfect for this movie to be
You have to
released.
think about other movie coming out, when, say like,
Mm.
big studio Marvel, or like, in Japan, like anime is coming out, or, we have to kind of compete with them too. So
Indeed,
we
yeah.
kind of want the right time for this kind of film to come out. So, yeah, there are a lot to consider.
Oh, yeah.
What's
So-
next for you two? What do you guys got in the way? What can you talk about? What are you guys working on next?
Right now I am actually choreographing and staging ice skate show in Japan.
Oh wow!
It's gonna be
Oh,
on July 5th to 7th at Yokohama Arena, with the actual like Olympic gold medalist.
oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, that's wonderful.
So
It's
with Daisuke Takahashi and
ooh,
Takayuki Matsuda.
ooh.
So I'm choreographing and staging the show. So that's in July, and then also I have some international films in development with Mongolia. One is like in Israel. One is in like U.S. and Korea. Those like yes. So some films in development also. Yeah, doing those kind of things.
Mm.
Keeping
Both
busy.
dancing and acting. I
Yes.
guess.
And you, Donnie?
For me, same. As of now, we're in the last stretch of our promotion for Crosspoint, so I'm kind of like focusing on that in the meantime. But now, yeah, I'm a writer director, so while I'm not shooting, I want to make sure that I am writing something. So I'm writing like 4 things at the same time now. So
Oh,
I met like these other writers because I want to collaborate with I mean, I write the plot, but I always prefer to have like a screenplay writer. So I'm very curious with series, like drama series. I want to actually to do like a show running for a series. So we I I had this idea for for a mini series, and now my screenplay writer, she's actually in the last touches of finishing the actual script for the pilot. And once it's done, we're gonna pitch that to producers. And I'm writing 3 feature films at the same time. When I went to Chicago, it really inspired me. So because yeah, I'm doing like Japan Philippine collaboration, but why not do a Philippine and US, collaboration? So it gave me some ideas during my my stay in Chicago. So I'm developing 2 stories, and then yes, and then I had another story, like another actually two. I realized like one is like a setting only in the Philippines, and the other one is another Japan and Philippine uh, collaboration story. So yeah, I'm actually dedicating my days. Like, okay, for this day I will only write this project, and then Wednesday I will only focus on this project. So far, just writing and pitching, uh, and hopefully we get some green lights, and yeah, and make it, and hopefully by late this year or next year. So that's actually the plan in the pipeline. So
So the movie is Crosspoint, Sho and Donnie. When is it? It's 24th of this month, May 24th. Where's the theater
24th, May
again? It's in
24th.
where was the theater again?
Case Cinema.
K
K
Cinema.
Cinema.
1 week
Yes.
only.
1 week
Yes.
only.
Get your
Yes.
tickets. Can you get your tickets now? You should buy ahead of time.
Actually, 3 days before
3
24th.
days before.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you can reserve it online on their website. So yeah.
Well, Sho-san, Donie-san, thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us
Thank
very
you.
much. Yes.
I highly recommend
And,
Crosspoint. Please, if you're in Japan, and I'm sure it'll show up in the States at some point, keep your eye out for it. You can follow them on Instagram. They have 2 Instagram pages for the movie Crosspoint, so make sure you check them out, and you can follow their ongoings. It's just so fascinating to see what these guys are up to. Next week, Fujiko. She's a comedian, a Japanese comedian here in Chicago. We finally get a Chicago person on the show. I've seen her do her roast, and I'm kind of terrified because she's really good at roasting other comedians. So I'm hoping, it could be a very entertaining episode. Anyway,
we'll watch out for
Okay.
that.
thank you so much for being on the show. This has been
Thank you.
Japan Expert Insights. Crosspoint
Yes.
to Film. Check it out.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.